The plan to enslave humanity. Part 3. The connection. Wireless transmitters. I will only touch base on the possible dangers of radiation because my focus is on the subject of artificial intelligence and the connection to the human brain.
So I'd like to begin by asking a few questions. Who knows if they have a wireless smart meter on their home? Okay? And who has their smartphone in their pocket right now? Great. And who's read the fine print in your owner's manual that says that the smartphone should never be within about an inch of the body? We can no longer assume that our wireless technology is safe. It started with the iPhone, and then tablet computing, ubiquitous Wi-Fi, the smart meter and the smart home, and wearable tech, and now the Internet of Things. How does this affect our bodies? That's the question I want to ask, because this exponential rise in microwave radiation can have effects. And that's what scientists and medical doctors around the world are now saying, especially when it comes to children, because they're going to be affected by this their entire lives. And I started to experience headaches, ringing in the ears, insomnia, and a fatigue and brain fog that I'd never experienced before. I shared this with a colleague at work, and she said, the exact same thing happened to her husband when a wireless smart meter was installed in their home. So I went home that evening, and I checked downstairs, and sure enough, we had a bank of wireless smart meters installed right below our bedroom in San Francisco. So this started me on a journey to learn as much about this topic as I possibly could. I now have a website about this, and I'm contacted by people all around the world every day who are experiencing the exact same things. It can be when they have a wireless smart meter installed, or a new Wi-Fi router, or even a cell tower placed across the street from their home. These are the common symptoms that people start to experience. This is actually from a published paper on the health effects of wireless smart meters.
It's important to understand what the 5G is doing and what they say it's doing. We're told on the IEEE beamforming document that this technology cooked your eyes like eggs in World War II. And you all need to understand these are military weapons. These are assault frequencies. If you garner nothing more than that, that's what you need to know. It's microwave radiation warfare, is what this is.
Although radiation should be a grave concern, I will lay that subject aside because my focus is on how artificial intelligence will be used to enhance the human body through the connection to the brain. From that it will move toward changing the way a person thinks, which is simply mind control.
The principal desire is to record from and selectively write to as many neurons as possible to diverse brain areas. There are 3 goals that their research wants to accomplish. Number 1. Increase by order of magnitude the number of neurons that can read and write to in safe long-lasting ways. Number 2. At each stage produce devices that serve critical unmet medical needs. Number 3. Make it as simple as LASIK surgery is today.
We're going to actually go quite into depth on what we're doing, why we're doing, how we're doing it. The why of Neuralink, just to go over it, is I think it's important for us to address brain-related diseases. Everyone, if you survive cancer and heart disease, the odds are that you will have some brain-related disorder. So it'll be like Alzheimer's or dementia. And if you don't, friends and family will for sure. I think unless we have some sort of brain-machine interface that can solve brain ailments of all kinds, whether it's an accident or congenital or any kind of brain-related disorder, or a spinal disorder. If you know somebody who's broken their neck or broken their spine, we can solve that with a chip. There's an incredible amount we can do to solve brain disorders, damage, and all this will occur actually, I think, quite slowly. So I do want to emphasize that it's not going to be like suddenly Neuralink will have this incredible neural lace and start taking over people's brains. Okay. It will take a long time. Getting FDA approval for implantable or devices of any kind is quite difficult, and this will be a slow process where we will gradually increase the issues that we solve until ultimately we can do a full brain-machine interface. Meaning, and this is something I think that's going to be really important at a civilization level scale. So, but I think with a high bandwidth brain-machine interface, I think we can actually go along for the ride. And we can effectively have the option of merging with AI. And if you think about your limbic system and your cortex, your limbic system is kind of your primal needs and wants, and it's like where a lot of your emotions are coming from. And then the cortex is like the thinking, planning part of your brain. And I haven't met anyone who wants to get rid of either the cortex or the limbic system. So clearly they work together well. Even though your cortex is, in principle, far smarter than your limbic system, everybody wants to keep the limbic system and their cortex. So hopefully we can have a tertiary layer, which is the kind of a digital superintelligence layer. And in fact, you already have this layer. So it's your phone and your laptop. And the constraint is just how well you interface, the input and output speed. So the output speed is especially slow since most people are typing with thumbs these days. So you have a very slow output speed. Your input speed is much faster due to vision. But the thing that will ultimately constrain our ability to be symbiotic with AI is bandwidth. So in the limit, after solving a bunch of brain-related diseases, there is the existential, it's mitigation of the existential threat of AI.
Composed of nearly 100 billion cells called neurons. Neurons come in many complex shapes, but generally they have a dendritic arbor, a cell body called a soma, and an axon. The neurons of your brain connect to form a large network through axon-dendrite junctions called synapses. At these connection points, neurons communicate with each other using chemical signals called neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters are released from the end of an axon in response to an electrical spike called an action potential. When a cell receives enough of the right kind of neurotransmitter input, a chain reaction is triggered that causes an action potential to fire, and the neuron to in turn relay messages to its own downstream synapses. Action potentials produce an electric field that spreads from the neuron and can be detected by placing electrodes nearby, allowing recording of the information represented by a neuron.
What if we were just a brain in a vat? This is often posed by philosophers, except we are a brain in a vat, and that vat is our skull. Everything that you perceive, feel, hear, think, it's all action potentials. It's all just, it's neural spikes. And it feels so real. It feels very real. But these are all impulses from neurons, what's called a spike. And our goal is to record from and stimulate spikes in neurons and do so in a way that is orders of magnitude more than anything that's been done to date, and safe and good enough that you can, it's not like a major operation. It's sort of equivalent to sort of a LASIK type of thing. So where you can sort of sit down, machine does this thing, and you can walk away within a few hours. And that's it. And you're not even in a hospital. So, like there's basically, in terms of key points that are worth taking away, the system that we designed in version 1 is capable of on the order of 10,000 electrodes. So each chip, which is 4 by 4 millimeters, is capable of 1,000 electrodes, or has 1,000 electrodes, and we think doing up to 10 is feasible. So this is in contrast to the best FDA-approved system, which is like a Parkinson's deep brain stimulation thing, which would have on the order of 10 electrodes. So the system, even in version 1 that we're going to unveil today, is capable of 1,000 times more electrodes than the best system out there, and they're all read and write. So this is really quite, I think, I mean, for something to be 1,000 times more than what is publicly approved is quite a big difference. And this will get better with subsequent versions.
I have much more information concerning the brain and its connection to artificial intelligence. However, there is more info on the basic moves that are now in place in which humanity is being enslaved or are being moved to a more controllable environment. This has to do with the electronic makeup or grids already in place in the United States and other areas around the world. With that being said, I ask you again for your prayers for my discernment to be true according to our Father in heaven.